Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I would like to introduce for you guys a former client of mine, Amrit, who I coached for almost a year, who came back, saw the client vlogs. He had already been talking to me about coming back for January. He's like, contacted me just over a week ago, says, Jason, I'm ready to come back. I want to vlog. I want the accountability. I've regressed massively since I dropped out of coaching. I've got to get back to where I was. I've lost strength. I've lost the conditioning we built. Get me back to where I was, and then get me a monstrous squat, bench, and deadlift. And we started off a little more aggressive. We realized we laughed. We thought we had his training maxes sorted for this first week of some 5-3-1. We were off on his squat. So we're going to have to readjust. His conditioning's not as good as we had hoped for. So I'm going to redo his block based upon what happened this week. And we laughed about it. He's like, man, this is hard doing all these tens. So, what do I mean by he's regressed? Like, we've taken his training max down to 105 kg on the bench. He was at like 115. He pulled 5 plates. We got his deadlift inside in 1 year. We went from less than a 140, like just under a 3 plate, because again, he's in kilos, he's not in pounds. Just under a 3 plate deadlift to we hit a 5 plate deadlift. Right? We got his squat, I think, either to like 150 or 160 kg. And all that's regressed. And by the way, his pull-ups and chin-ups and his overhead press were really good. Like, I think we were knocking on close to a 200-pound overhead press. And he was getting pretty beastly on the way to chin-ups, too. He was good at those lifts. So where we're down to now for our training maxes, we're working at 105 for the bench, 135 kg for the squat, 200 kg for the deadlift, so on and so forth. This is what we're using for his training maxes. But again, his conditioning has gone down, and he is actually a personal trainer himself. It's one of his businesses. He does run a personal training business. I mean, and obviously he lifts. I mean, you can look at Amrit and say, okay, yeah, this guy, he lifts and he's in decent shape. He's not, out of shape, but he's not where he was when he left Team Blaha almost a year ago. Right? I'm looking even at the footage now. The strength and muscle are down a little bit. He's a little softer. He was leaner with, I want to guess, close to another inch of arm when we quit before. So we've got to get him back up to where he was. So we're going to count him as an intermediate. But I mean, pretty much, he was well past a 2-plate bench. He was at a 5-plate deadlift. And again, he could knock out some pretty serious weight on the weighted chins too. But again, he's lost some of that. So we're going to count him as an intermediate now. And so again, we're noticing up front, we're dealing with a lot of conditioning. He's like trying to do the 5x10s and stuff, and he can't make it through a lot of them. So we're going to have to scale him down for some of these lifts. Benching, he's still good. He's like, I can knock out 60% for 10s all day long on bench. It's the squats, overhead press, even the deadlifts. We're realizing that we're going to have to build his work capacity back up. We've got to maybe get him doing a little GPP. We've got to do all these 10s. We've got to bring his breaks down. We have to get him back into shape. And what we noticed, again, the squatting, I think I'd assigned something like 140 or 145 kg on his squat for the training max. He went to do 5 with 85% of that, and he's like, I can only get like 3 reps, coach. We missed that one. So we're scaling that down, and I'm going to have to build it up. But I mean, again, we're going to have to build his legs and stuff back up. And it's like he's still trained, but he was not at the level where he was a year ago when I had him full Team Blaha, all on conjugate. He was using specialty bars and chains. Like he was all in, right? And he made ridiculous progress. But now he was like, he's seen the 5-3-1 stuff with the clients. He's like, I want to try this. I want to do this. I want to vlog, and let's rebuild me back up for the camera, because he wants the accountability. And I respect that, because he is that sort of person. Like he is very much a type A personality, extrovert, very outgoing, very, very goal-oriented person. Because I got to know him pretty well, between hours and hours of Skypes and stuff, and that's just who he is. And so for him, that accountability, he's like, I want to be on the camera. I want that accountability. and I want to get in and use that to drive me to kick ass and not puss out. And that's what I like about him. Like he's someone who has that. You guys know the term extreme ownership. Like when I first started coaching him, was doing really low work capacity stuff, reverse pyramid training and everything, and he had no work capacity, and we built that up originally. And then he came to me later and laughed and said, "You know what? I want to apologize to you for being an effing pussy when you started working with me." He apologized for that. I mean, I love that level of ownership, extreme ownership of saying I was being a pussy. And I can admit that now, and I want to apologize for it. And he did. And he came in and he kicked ass, and we put 2 plates per side on his deadlift in 10 months because he was willing to own that. And I think because I've worked with this individual before, I worked with him for quite a while, he's going to put in the work. He's consistent. Like he's one of those guys that once he knows he needs to improve, he'll use the accountability to drive himself. He's a very, very motivated individual, and I know this from working with him before. And if I call him out, he will own it. Like if I say, "Dude, you're being a pussy." And I told him that with some of this stuff on these 10s already. He's like, "Okay, you're right. Let's fix it. How do we get my work capacity up?" And we're going to do that. So we're going to be doing all these 10s, this stuff. And we're going to build his conditioning up, right? He's going to need to eat. He's got to put some muscle back on. We've got to bring those legs up. Those legs, we've got to bring his legs up. He needs quads. He needs glutes. He needs more hamstring. We need to bring those arms back up, right? He used to have more tricep. We got to get those triceps back up, get that bench back where it was, and that overhead press, because he was a beast on the overhead press. All right, we're going to get him back. And again, this will be again a fun one because this is a rebuild. This is someone who's regressed, who I've coached in the past for, I want to say 11 to 12 months straight. So I coached him for a year, and we made enormous progress. And so I know how to drive and motivate this person. I know what makes him tick, and these vlogs will do it for this person. And you know, he'll own it. Like he's one of those guys, man. If people give him a hard time in the vlogs, he's not going to be a puss about it. He's one of those guys who's like, you know what, you're right. They giving me some valid criticism. I'm going to own that, and I'm going to do better. Like he's just that sort of person, and that's what I like about him. You know, again, he'll put in the work, and like I said, it's going to be one of these where people are laughing now. They're like, "Oh man, he's gassing out." This one he jumped over and he didn't follow my percentages. I'm going to call him right here. It's like, well, I wanted 4 plates. I know it would have been 170 kg at the percentages, but I wanted 180, and he got 4 instead of 5 plus, right, on these deadlifts. So I'm like, next week, we're going to do the correct percentages. You do the correct percentages and come in and get it. But even then, you know, for someone who's detrained a bit and we've lost some, he just pulled 4 plates for 4 here, right? 4 plates for 4, and then he did the 5x10 back off, and he did them at the 60% of this, and he's like, "Oh my god." It was funny. He's like, I'm dying. I'm like, "It's okay, you can skip the RDLs. We can't handle them right now." This was enough conditioning for him. So he basically just did deadlifts and abs for his last day of the workout. And that's okay because he did, you know, 4 plates for reps on his deadlift, and he did that 5x10, and then we did some leg raises. Now, I think people are going to be shocked. They'll be like, "Wait, he's doing toe to bars." Be like, "Yeah, like I do." Keep in mind, this is a guy who was real strong on weighted chins. Like I want to say he was pulling over 2 plates for a max on the weighted chin or something in that range, right? So he's got strong core, and it looks like he's kept his core strength up based upon these toe to bars. He's kept his core strength. So for me as a coach, this is promising. I'm happy to see that because that means I'm not going to have to fix it. All right, that's still a foundation to work off of. So this one I think people will enjoy. It'll be a little different from some of the other vlogs. So I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.